So I'm actually really excited to have you because you're a former mentor and I guess continuing mentor of mine. But now I feel like the tables have turned and I get to kind of pick your brain a little bit more and just dive into this conversation and see where spirit kind of leads us.
Let's do
So
it.
I've been so excited, and all the little, electric nuances I feel like just kind of add to the excitement for me because I'm like, all right, we're already electric, we're good. Where I would like to start with you is telling us, if you can, a little bit about your journey towards awakening. What kind of set you on this path as a psychic medium?
Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess it's even as a child, the abilities were there. I'm one of three sisters. One sister now crossed over, but my next sister in line, 3 years younger than me, was extremely psychic. So she would have dreams and then they would happen. She would have feelings. She actually would see things with her physical eyes. So we grew up very close and just experiencing things that we didn't quite realize because we both were, that not everybody did. That like not everybody might go to bed, have a dream, and then have it play out in the next few days, right? Or we used to do this game when with the old. I don't even know what your age. If you remember the telephones
The
where you
rotary
had
phones?
yes, yes. No caller IDs, no instant anything. But we would play games where the phone would ring and then she would just look at the phone for a minute and then say a name. And then I would answer the phone and give her a thumbs up or a thumbs down, right? So that's how we were as children. But we were raised in like sort of a very culty religion, kind of Christianity based, but they threw some other things in there. And so when we got a little older, we both got the message that this stuff that it was the devil and it was to be feared, right? So that kind of put a damper on us. At least we had each other to talk to, but we stopped playing those kinds of games. We stopped. Became fearful, and the energy of fear came in, and that will kind of dim the light or close the gift. So definitely in our family, and I believe actually that everybody has it. Just some of us are more highly tuned to it. I believe that anyone can learn to play the piano, but some people are born where they can play by ear, right? And they're
That's the
tuned in
perfect
that
way.
way. Yeah, yeah. So honestly, by the time I got to be a young teenager, I pretty much shut it all down and then lived without really thinking about it very much. Much again, I was living within this kind of religious, hyper religious setting where everything was gauged against was it a sin or was it not a sin? And this was considered a sin. So I needed to kind of stay away from it. And that's what happened until I was about 40, 42 years old. Um, when I got in kind of a tough place in my life, I was married, I had a family, things weren't going so well. And I picked up meditation as a tool just to survive. And what I didn't know was going to happen, when it was going to like blow that cap off, right? of the intuitive and psychic antenna that was always there, right? Just kind of tamped down and covered up.
Mhm.
Um, so I
So I'm
started.
kind of curious. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm kind of curious though, because I come from a similar background, and I don't know that me personally, I don't know that I would have been open to something like meditation. So was that in a different bracket for you? Like meditation was okay, or what even drew you into meditation?
Desperation, I think. So I always believed, I would have called it God, right? An energy, a power greater than myself. Um, and we did have rote prayers within the community. I was still in my 40s, I was still there, right? Brought there as a 5 year old, raised through with this, in a school where the teachers all taught the same thing. They were all part of this like religious cult. That's what it turned out to be. I didn't know that when I was in it, but I was so unhappy in my life and so desperate that I thought I would try something, and that was close enough to prayer, right? Meditation. We definitely were I was into praying. It was all that kind of supplication prayer on your knees, right? Needing to be forgiven, penance, confession, all of that kind of thing. So nobody knew that I wasn't just doing my prayer time, right? That I was sitting in meditation. So that's sort of how that snuck in the back door. But I would say it was desperation. I knew I needed something different, and I was just hoping to get enough peace inside that I could stand my life, right? I wasn't really looking to leave or break up my marriage or, you know what I'm saying, or shake things up. I just thought I just feel crazy inside and unhappy and depressed and sad. Although I wasn't really a depressive person, I think I felt caged kind of, you know.
Mm.
Um, and meditation was kind of a way out. But what I didn't count on, like I said, was how I changed, how it changed me. I became somebody different. Certainly those gifts opened back up, but just my own clarity in my own thought processes, and all of a sudden what I could see was going on around me changed. But that was through, yeah, opening up the door to meditation and starting a practice.
Yeah. So if you can describe a little bit more about that, because I'm really intrigued. There's all these stories about, Kundalini awakenings, and for some people it happens very slow. But it sounds like yours was a pretty profound experience. Do you mind diving into that a little deeper?
Sure. Yeah. I'd say it was about 18 months of really committed. Now, again, I was a mom of six kids, and I had a business. My husband and I had a business, so I didn't have endless hours to just sit and I didn't become a monk. I had to grab it during the day as I could, but I would probably at least 20 minutes a day. Sometimes I could do 40. Um, and so was it a fact? I mean, I guess to go from thinking one way and to being totally different 18 months later, it changed me at levels that I wasn't really aware of till I came awake 18 months later. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm asking questions, I'm asking for guidance. And I would journal after I meditated. And then I would start, my dreams became very vivid with answers. I would dream an answer. I would hear an answer. I would ask for guidance on with one of my children. I would follow the guidance. So that thing would work out well, right? So then I would come back and ask again. So it was that kind of a process.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I'm not talking to anyone about it because I'm still within this very kind of patriarchal, constrained religious environment. And I definitely had the idea that, talking about it was not going to end well for me, right?
And even with your sister at that point?
My sister had left. She had left, and we were in a shunning because we shunned people that left, right? That was the rule. I
Mhm.
really lost contact. I with my sister for both my sisters for many, many years. So it was after kind of my awakening into this process that then I was able to start to have. I had to then leave that religion, that cult. But that was all part of the process that came. But luckily, I think that that dedication to that practice and asking for guidance, listening, and then following what I got led me to a space where I was able to leave now in a fairly peaceful way without disrupting my family too much. Again, I was there since I was 5 years old. My parents were there. My husband's whole family was there. He was very dedicated to it. Didn't really want to break up my family. So that was a process, but I was guided through that process very gracefully over a period of time, you know. So I didn't get to talk to my sister when I was doing all that meditating and
So this
everything.
was all on your own, just really you with spirit and listening to some guidance that I would imagine was unfamiliar at that time because it's so different than religion. At least
Yeah.
that's how I would think of it. Is that how it felt for you? Like you were just kind of listening to something within you that you didn't really know what to call?
So in the religion I was raised in, we definitely had a belief in angels and the saints. Although it was not Catholic, there was a very familiar presence of regard for saints, right? The Catholic saints, the biblical figures. That was how my guidance started to come through to me, was seriously through the biblical figures that I knew of, right? So, like, for example, Abraham's wife, Sarah, actually,
Mm-hmm.
she was one of the ones that started to speak to me. Um, Mother Mary was another one. These would be because they were familiar to me and they felt
Right.
safe. Like I would be used to saying like a rosary. Again, although we weren't Catholic, there was a lot of that penancy kind of confessional, guilt-ridden stuff that sometimes I think can be. I'm not putting down Catholicism or any religion, right? This was like a
Mm-hmm.
weird hybrid. And so that was how, so I perceived it as the voices of, say, Archangel Michael, um, Joan of Arc,
Right.
Mary, yeah, Sarah from the Bible, Eve from the Bible. That's how it presented to me. And because
Okay.
I was comfortable with those figures, I think I trusted that. And it was also always, it was good advice. I didn't always like it, but what I started to notice a pattern of is that I would follow the guidance and then something would either stop being a problem for me or it would resolve itself in some way, you know?
Wow.
Um, yeah. And so I knew it wasn't coming from me. It was separate. And I took me a little longer to try to really start to understand then how to take that I named as other coming from, say, guides or angels to that inner intuition,
Mm.
right? Because I was raised never trust your feelings, do
Yeah,
what
your heart is treacherous, right?
what you're told. Yes, you're and actually one of the mantras in our this community was your feelings always lie.
Oh,
So not only did I
wow.
have a good relationship with my feelings, I actually didn't trust them. Right. So that was a little bit later for me before really I could understand that it was okay to have a gut feeling and it was and follow it. And that there could be that stillness within where I would know something. Right. Yeah. So that was even the next step after.
So you had to do a lot of reconditioning to that inner script, is
Very
what
much.
I'm hearing. Wow, almost like you're erasing the full chalkboard, and it feels like to me like little by little, like rewriting your your whole mind that then short forms your life experience. Would you say
Right.
that is pretty
I would say
accurate?
that. Absolutely. And it was a process. Did not happen overnight, you know.
Mhm. Wow. So take us from there to when you really knew you were a psychic medium, because you have a really beautiful gift. And I believe too that yes, we all have these abilities. Um, but you have a very deep connection, and the things that you've taught me in mediumship are, I mean, you've really helped change my life in many ways. I'm kind of curious now, like, how did you step into the work that you're doing now as a medium?
That's yeah, it's like I said, this is a multi-level process, right? First I had to get beyond the fear of all of it, right? Because of how I was conditioned and what I believed, what I'd been told. So that started with the meditation, and then the guidance from the outside. Then, as my journey progressed, I began to understand. I did. I left that community. I left that cult. It was like an intentional community. We were on a compound. We had no access to the outside. I mean, I was raised here within the same school system. This was everything I knew. This was my social life, my education. My children went to that same school, right? They were varying ages when I left, and then eventually my husband ended up leaving too, so we stayed together after that. But we had been married there. That was my most of my married life was
Mhm.
was there because again I was in my early 40s. Maybe I was 39 or 40. I don't know. I had to go back and do the math, but it was right. It was right around there. Um, Mediumship. So it went from listening to the guidance of, say, familiar heavenly beings, I guess I would say, angels, saints, ascended masters, I would call them now, right? That wasn't in my terminology at the time. to then learning, and I had a wonderful mentor who helped me to really go within and wake up that inner listening. I just didn't trust myself because
Yeah.
that, again, all my life, it was never, it was always what I was told to do. Obedience, obedience, obedience to authority, obedience to an elder, obedience to religious dogma, right? This kind of thing. So when the inner voice started to awaken, I would say then, so it's weird because now as I'm talking to you, I'm realizing really that was more mediumistic to be able to hear the guidance from,
Yeah.
right? And then for me, it was more like then the intuition came along, that higher self connection, right? That connection with one's own soul, with one's own internal guidance compass, right? And so that was the next step. And I had a wonderful mentor who actually she lived with me for about 18 months, and my growth just exploded during that time because she taught me to go within. She taught me to trust myself, and really then encouraged me to start to talk about it and to maybe try to help others, right? So I began doing sessions. I found out that I was pretty good at it, right? Once I started to really say yes to it, I was pretty good at it. It didn't just work for getting my own guidance. I could also hear it for others. And then as I attuned to that more, I realized I could see the energy, psychically see the energy around other people and ascertain. So we all have an energy. We have an energy emanating from our physical body, that's a part of us.
Mhm.
We call that the
The
aura, we
aura.
call it the energy body. Yeah, yeah. But that can be seen. You can see that around trees. You can see that around animals. You can see it around other people, rocks. I don't care. It's everything emanates with this energy, and that there's information in that energy. And so over time, I learned how to read that for other people. And so then I started to offer guidance sessions for other people. And then, right side by side, I'm still always working on myself. And part of my journey was to try to heal um, aspects of myself that had been very badly hurt because of the way I was raised, in
Yeah.
this kind of setting, and abuse and patriarchal, authoritarian kinds of abuse, and physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual abuse, really definitely,
Yeah.
all from that way that I had been raised and lived for many years. So it was in that healing process that somebody who had been a terrible, really treated me terribly within the community, who was an authority over me, both spiritual authority over me, but also just like work authority in my work within the community. Uh, I was working on trying to forgive that person. She had passed, and during my own personal work, now I'm doing intuitive sessions for other people. I'm still working on healing my own wounds. And
Mhm. And you're outside of the community.
I've been
Okay.
outside of the community now for several years. Um,
Okay.
I, in a dream, she came to me, her spirit, she had passed, her spirit came to me in a dream. And then it wasn't a dream anymore, right? So the experience, I woke up and she's talked to me, and she talked to me about some of the things that had happened between the two of us back within the cult and all. And mind you, I hated this person. And she died
Mhm.
a very difficult, painful death a few years earlier. And I'm not proud to say this, but I think anyone who hates somebody might understand like that. I didn't mind it. Something in me was glad to see that physically she suffered in the way that she did before she passed, right? And I found that to be something that I needed to. I was horrified at myself, right? But so I was on this healing process for myself to try to understand and really forgive. I could forgive one day and feel all the forgiveness, and then 3 days later it would be back like that, right? Where I just could feel that ball of hate inside of me. Well, she shows up from the other side. We have a whole conversation, um, and that's what opened up my mediumistic abilities to the next level. We're realizing that like I did receive healing over the next few weeks. Um, I don't carry that hatred, that grudge, that passionate anger towards her anymore, right? And I know you do work with past life regression with people. Her coming to me and speaking to me, I started to do some past life regressions from that. And it was through that work that the next level of healing came, where the forgiveness was just there. And I just, that's off my chest now as a problem. And that's been 12, 15 years. I have to again do the math. But it was because of that experience that I actually heard that I was meant to connect with people who had passed, not just guides and angels, right? And I don't mean just, but not only guides and angels, but also people out of our lives that have passed. And I was to do it for other people, that was part. And it just, nobody was telling me to. I felt it in my soul. I felt it in my heart. And
And you were able to trust it.
I trust. Well, by that time, I had been through the work with my mentor, really learning to trust that, and really learning to recognize when something is a soul, like a soul remembrance, why I came here, or what I came to do, or who I am. And I didn't know then the technique, or I knew I had abilities. I knew that, that if I kept honing the so-called abilities, which again, I don't think I'm special. I believe everybody has. But that led me on a path. I found my next teacher. I went to school to learn mediumship in a way that would be ethical and hopeful, helpful, and healing for others, the way this experience had been for me with this person out of my life who was on the other side that I had achieved complete healing with, while she's over there in spirit and I'm still down here in the physical. And for a long time, she became one of my guides, from my most hated person to a mediumship guide for me for many, many years. She's now moved on in her journey, but she was very active in guiding me to the next space of learning, which was mediumship. And I still study with other mediums that are beyond me in their skill level and experience, right? So it's ever evolving, if you will. But I find that I love doing the spiritual guidance work, energy healing, facilitating work that I do. But I would say my favorite thing is probably the mediumship.
Yeah.
And that's how
And
we connected, right?
That's how we connected. And just for everyone listening, it's, there's really no coincidence, but I was given your name by somebody I met in a very brief interaction. I just felt this pull to book with you, knew nothing about you, just clicked the button. And I don't know if looking back, I feel like I must have opened with, I was raised in a cult. Like, that's how my mind computes it now. And I feel like for me, that was the first interaction of you saying, oh, so was I. And I felt like all of a sudden, this warm blanket of love from spirit, like, this is who you are meant to work with next. This is your next mentor. This is your next chapter. And I still can't believe it, because it's very, sometimes we can understand, we can empathize, we can sympathize, all of those things. But to have such a similar background, for me, I was like, wow, this is almost unbelievable. So I'm so thankful. One thing I did want to ask about, though, is that person that you connected with, that became your mentor, that you had to do the forgiveness work with, on a soul level, because I see this a lot in my own life and also with my work, and I'm sure you do too. On a soul level, when you have that type of enemy in your life, quote, enemy, do you find, or did you find in this instance, that on the soul level, you guys were very deeply connected? I feel like we sign up to play these roles in each other's lives, and sometimes it's the greatest love that will inspire you to play that villain out of love. And as a human, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around that. But it's only out of love could you play that type of role in someone's life, knowing who we are, in the bigger picture, and who we're signing up to be or play in this, this big play that we live in.
Yes.
On the world stage. Yes.
Yes. Yes, that's so interesting. Absolutely. And she didn't mentor me. She became a spirit guide for me from the other side.
Okay.
So I just want to straighten that out because I've had some
Thank you.
wonderful mentors and teachers uh, in the physical, right? And of course, spirit can teach us too. And she certainly was one of my spirit guide teachers. Okay, after the healing, shall we say? Yeah, I didn't want her anywhere near me before that. Okay, so how to answer that? Yes, I did a lot of past life regression work. I was again on this journey kind of by myself. I did end up getting some mentors and all, but in the beginning, I was trying to learn about everything. Now you have to understand I didn't have access even to the internet for a while, right? Because I was in this confined cult. So when I did get out, then all of a sudden the world becomes available to start to search. But I did a lot of past life regression work for myself, listening to like recorded um, regressionists who would put it on YouTube on a recording, right? And surprise, surprise. Now she's still living at this point. I still know I have to heal. I didn't even go into regression work to try to heal my relationship with her, but just trying to understand some things about my life and relationships. She kept showing up in these regressions. I kept going into lives that we had lived together at different times. And interestingly enough, we had played, there were role reversals here. Just because I experienced the victim energy and she was the, if you want to call it, abuser, right? Whatever this was, this thing that had happened in this lifetime. I started to see lifetimes where I had been the bad actor, if you will, right?
That's humbling, right?
There's nothing like nobody told me this. I experienced it for myself, right? And the
Okay.
very first regression that I went into, this is the level I was at. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm listening to a recorded regression script by another teacher. I'm driving to work. Now, this is I don't recommend this to anyone. Don't do what I did. Never done a past life regression. And she says in there, don't do this while you're driving. Don't do this when you're operating heavy equipment. Lay down in the bed or get in a recliner. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to listen to it. I'll just listen while I'm driving to work. I'm not doing it. Well, I don't know what happened. I'm listening. The next thing I know is I'm on the side of the road. I'm weeping. I've had to pull the car over. And I can hear my own voice and I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, over and over and over again. I was at the death scene of this. We were both men in that lifetime, of this woman who I'm still trying to heal from the relationship with. Right? Unbelievable. I had been the cause of his death, but we were male friends in that lifetime. Not on purpose. It was a kind of a war situation. But a mistake that I made caused. I left my soul partner, soldier, soldier buddy
Like
unprotected.
behind.
It
Oh,
was my, yeah, it was my mistake. It was a mistake, and it wasn't. There had been friendship between us, but so that was that was the first thing that gave me pause. Like, oh my goodness, I wonder if we've been doing this right. If we've
you
been
didn't even
doing,
know about past lives at that point?
I always knew
Or,
about past lives because in my
okay.
psychicness, I would experience past lives in dreams sometimes. I
Okay.
literally experienced the death of Christ in a dream, except guess what I was? I was I was in Jerusalem lying about him to the Pharisees. Like, whoa. So, we're not always the best little actors. I began to get some real insight into like the sum total of who my spirit and soul is, right? Which we all
Mhm.
are, which is like all of these lifetimes and
Yeah.
all of these between lifetimes. Sometimes we serve as spirit guides to other people coming into a lifetime. So anyway, um, so even though I was in this religion and there was no past lives, I knew it because I had my own experiences where I would wake up in some other space in a different body, right? And and it was sometimes when I was sleeping, it would usually start when I was sleeping, and then I would like be awake for the rest of it. So I knew these
Okay.
were experiences that I couldn't explain, and that I just knew things about this other country, this other time period, this other person that I had been. So when I started the conscious, the purposeful regression work, I think my healing went to even another level for myself. And some things just resolved because I saw it isn't just this lifetime, right? We play different roles in different lifetimes. And so I was able to, I just want to say this for anyone who maybe is thinking about the past life regression work for healing. I was able to kind of cut the karmic ties. I know that the soul that was this woman to me in this lifetime, our souls are not going to come back and do this again because of the healing that's gone down for both of us, her on that side, me here. We don't have to jump on that karmic wheel and do this thing again. I don't have to, get back at her for this lifetime just because she was the one in power, so-called power, right? And I gave my power to be the victim in this role. We're not doing that anymore. And I know my soul won't. And so whatever she chooses, although I don't I think she's beyond that also now because of the healing. But
Mhm.
I won't step into that again, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you've cleared it. That karma is done. It's completed. It's ended. It's powerful. Whew. Were there any particular past lives aside from this one massive past life with where forgiveness came in and I'm sure compassion was in there as well? Were there any other lifetimes that you saw that have given you clarity or answers to the path that you're on now?
Yes. Again, one of the very first ones I did, I um I was a bit of I was in Ireland, probably around the 13th century, although I'm not sure about the timing. I was a woman. I knew I did the same kind of work I do now, only it was outside of the church, what was okay, right, with people at that time. So I was a bit of an outcast. I had to live on the outer skirts, and mostly if I minded my own business, I got left alone. But the thing that lifetime did for me was I realized that what I'm drawing on in my work now, it's a soul remembrance. I've done it before. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And and I think sometimes that's how we know when we're just maybe naturally good at something, is we've probably done it before. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was one. A few others have helped me understand other relationships. I'm very close with that sister that I mentioned earlier, who was very psychic as a child, and I understood a little bit of my feelings around her and this our bond because of who we were to each other in a past life. That was another one. Yeah, and I would say different things about different ones of my children and so forth. Absolutely. So I always say if I'm helping someone in a past life regression, or if I'm doing one myself, that it's whatever I ask for, whatever it is that my soul or my client's soul needs to understand in the life right now from a past life, that be what comes up. And sometimes it seems very profound, and sometimes it seems not so profound. But I feel that there's healing in all of that work.
Absolutely. Dolores Cannon called them picking potatoes lifetimes when
Oh
they're just
yeah,
kind of
yeah, some of those.
just
And I'm
ordinary lifetimes.
a person, right? And instead of being like, one of the apostles, it turns out I'm one of the liars in Jerusalem.
Yes. But it's so true what you said before. We've played all of these different roles. We've been every gender, every ethnicity. Like we have so much to pull from in our soul's wisdom that we don't realize the experiences that we've had and how they're showing up today. And I feel like little subtle synchronicities, like, oh, here's a little flashback to here, if you're willing to look at it. But it's beautiful work. And I've seen in my own facilitation of the sessions that sometimes just looking at that lifetime, just seeing it, acknowledging it, allowing your body to kind of feel like this experience that did happen nothing else needs to be done. It just breaks up the energy. It's pretty magical. Is that what you find on your end as well?
Yes, and absolutely going back to my healing with the this one woman, the soul who was this woman in this lifetime. I actually I didn't have to forgive after that regression. It just was. It just is. I don't exactly know how to say it. It just kind of bubbled out like this, and I'm like, oh wow, we've done this. We've we've been a lot of things to each other over the times, and there's nothing. It just disappeared, right? It wasn't like
Right.
I was on my knees saying I forgive you. I wrote a blog post on this. It's on my website. It's called "Forgive This Story," and the bottom line was: once I got through seeing my own self and my own, I didn't have anything to forgive anymore. I needed to forgive her, right? It just kind of what you said. It simply is, and it was okay. And it's hard to describe that feeling until you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And I think this is one way. The in our spiritual toolkit, past life regressions are one way to experience that deep, deep, deep healing,
Absolutely.
okayness with whatever has gone down.
Are there anything or any, I want to say symptoms, but what do you feel like is the telltale that you should do a past life regression? How would that show up in people's lives?
So I'm interested in your use of the word should, right? so
Thank
so I
you.
always try to notice when I say I should or I need to or I need to do this or I should do this. Um, it's just I'm just going to note that and you can think about that. I think the question would be, is a past life regression correct for me, or will it be helpful to me? And I think that's what you mean when you said should. I don't
Yes.
think
Is it beneficial?
should do it. Yeah, yeah. Would this be beneficial? Would this help? Because I don't think I don't think it's necessarily a tool for everyone. I don't know that I do. It's an interesting. I just took someone through a regression yesterday. I and I think other teachers may have other opinions on this. I'm not even sure, but it's a level of work and it's a level of inner being willing to kind of see things about oneself that I'm not. I think it has to happen in the right time, you know. And so I think maybe I got off of your question, but I guess what I would say is if you feel not out of curiosity, just doing it as a novelty or out of curiosity, and if you're willing to go there, because sometimes it can be very deep, um, then and you feel your soul pulling you, you feel your intuition guiding you, then yes, you should do it, right? Absolutely. Find a good practitioner. I sadly went to someone who was not good. I got into a very, very hairy kind of lifetime. I was abreacting into it. I was experiencing some things, and she freaked out and left the regression.
Were you were in the room together in person? Oh my gosh. And you were having an ab reaction. That's when
Physical,
you need the
physical.
guide.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh
And,
my
and so
goodness.
again, I was not discerning very well. Again, I was at the beginning of my journey and who I was working with. So I would always say that's another place to listen to your intuition. You will know who you're drawn to work with, right?
Hmm.
Not every teacher is for every student.
Right.
Um, and I've been very lucky that way for the most part to really have a drawing, a feeling, and then going and then being having a great different mentors at different times to help me with different
Hmm.
things. So I would say always, always be sure that it feels right in your gut, that your soul is calling you to do this, and that it's more of like a memory. Your soul is inviting you to remember certain things, and then find the practitioner that you feel really, really resonates in your gut and in your heart.
I love that. And I agree with what you said. And that's really what prompted me to ask the question, although I shouldn't have used the word should because I agree with you. And I
That's
correct I correct my clients on that too. And then woo. But I find that there are a lot of people who are just curious and those sessions they're not ready for it. So there has to be an intention, like you said, like how you can benefit from it, how it may be helpful for you.
Yes.
If your soul is drawing you towards it, if that thought keeps popping in your head or you keep seeing signs for whatever reason that bring you back to past life regression work. But
Yes.
I agree with you. It's not the best to just go in just out of curiosity because it's not going to be as beneficial to you or as helpful in that time as it would if you had a specific intention.
I agree. Yeah.
So, is there anything outside of past life regression in your journey that you share with your clients or that has benefited you or your clients in this spiritual realm?
Oh my goodness, so much, right? So,
Yeah,
what
what pops into your mind first? Because
I
you
mean
do
for me, and
a
again,
few different things.
yeah, thank you. Okay. I think that this is what's so beautiful is that there are so many different tools in our spiritual toolkit. There can be. And we will know the ones that are right for us or that we should do, right? So for me, another huge one is sound healing work. I mean, I've got a couple of my bowls up here. I do it for others, but I love to go to other practitioners and facilitators with the gong. I tend to have like kind of out of body, sometimes some past life type experiences, just being in a sound bath that's facilitated by somebody else. I also work with EFT tapping. I don't know if you're familiar with that for clearing
I
energy.
sure am.
I don't, yeah, I don't, I've never, I have someone who helps me with that, uh, on a regular basis. So that's another, the emotional freedom tapping, I think they call it, or technique, but that's where
Technique.
it's
Yep.
clear, you can clear energy. Unconditioning from the cult life, that EFT work was essential for me for many, many years, but I still do it. Yeah. So I would say those two things come to mind. Another tool that I use a lot with my clients is the violet flame, which is an energy clearing spiritual fire. And that's a whole practice in itself. So yeah, I mean, I just threw out those are, I think I would say those are my favorite things for me that kind of go, I have clients that can't do the sound healing. It does something to them, they don't want it. And that's fine. Then they can find something else, breath work or yoga or whatever it may be. But I would say
Mhm.
my go-tos are really personal practice with the violet flame, sound bath work, and EFT. One more thing that's huge is toning. And I have done this at different times, but I'm just getting back into a toning practice. And that would be the way I do it is combining the ah and om sounds together. And I do it. I actually have a recording from one of my mentors from years ago where she sings it, and she has the most beautiful singing voice, and I can sing with that recording. And to me, that just charges me up in my aura, in my chakras, and boy, does that open me up sometimes. And I'll do that often if I'm going to be presenting, doing mediumship for a whole group of people, and I really need to get charged up. I will do toning exercise. But you can, what do they call it? They call it Om. It's the Om
Mhm.
sound, which is so powerful. I don't even know the science behind it. I just know that it works.
Well, they're
So,
doing studies now about it.
really.
They're calling it humming
Okay.
and just doing studies on the benefits of humming, but it's toning. That's really what they're researching. We can
Wow.
call it humming though.
Yeah. Hey, if it works, yes.
And it's funny because I noticed my older daughter, she would hum all the time. She would get in trouble in school for humming, but I feel like she was just instinctively trying to regulate her nervous system
Yep. But
and
that's right.
balance her energy centers.
Vibratory. It's a vibratory thing. Yes. Which is what the
Mhm.
sound baths are also, right? It's working at a vibratory level. Yeah. Interesting.
So interesting.
That
But
was
it
her
feels
own.
good even just to what?
That would be her own like intuition or whatever. She didn't even know. It was just her body knowing what to do to maybe soothe or calm the
Yeah.
anxiety. Yeah,
But when you're doing it intentionally, it can open you up, like what you just described.
absolutely. Yep, yep. For
Beautiful.
me, it charges up my chakras and my aura so that I can receive information from spirit, that I can be more available and receive and understand it more easily. I would say that's what it does. I literally feel like I just like plugged in. I charge my phone or whatever. Like that's how I feel like I'm
Hmm.
just plugged in for a little while and I do the toning. Yeah.
The switch is on. We're good.
Yep. Yep. Yes.
So, one more question I have is in line with knowing whether or not you're being kind of called to open up your intuition. And for me, I feel like it will only benefit you in life. It doesn't mean you have to be a practitioner, but there are certain signs, in my opinion, that you are being maybe pushed to open up a little bit further, a little bit more, or things that are happening within you that you're questioning, or maybe, thinking you're, for lack of a better word, going crazy. Are there anything that you see in your practice that brings people to you?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I do think that, so one of the signs for me is that we start to question. We just are starting to question the status quo, or question an experience we had, or we're starting to notice, say, certain synchronicities. It's that little bit of like waking up to, there's more going on than what meets the eye here in the physical.
Mm.
So I think that the more we question that, that to me, that's a sign of the soul kind of drawing us out of just, we have so much in this physical world to contend with at a human level that we forget. No one teaches us, and then we forget. I mean, we're born in forgetfulness as to
Yeah.
the truth of who we really are as spiritual beings, right? So when someone is starting to question, when they're maybe noticing things that there doesn't seem to be any, you think of someone and then they call like, what, is there a web of consciousness? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? What's going on with this kind of thing? Um, then I would say that's the beginning of awakening, right? Into more. And then when people come to me, again, I'm pretty woo-woo. So, if we're going to talk to their dead husband or their dead brother or whatever, they're already usually pretty open. But honestly, I love doing readings for not cynics, but healthily skeptical people, right? Who would be open, but it's not necessarily their thing. Because a lot of times by the end of a reading, it is their thing. It sparked that, like, what the heck just happened? What these things that my brother is, that she's saying about my brother are things he said that no one knew. That, you know what I'm saying? So to me, it kind of starts with that like questioning things around us. Is there more than meets the physical eye? And I think we all have had those gut feelings, or that knowing where we know something, we don't know why we know it. Do we want to take that
Absolutely.
further? Absolutely. I do a lot of training and work with people who don't want to be professional in the field, doing this professionally like you are, or like I am, but they want to improve their life. That's how I started. Was I just wanted to improve the life situation that I found myself in, right? And I didn't know how much I was going to change to where I couldn't stay in the life situation I was in, right? But yeah, so all everybody, I think, could benefit from a little technique and learning how to still the mind, how to hear that inner voice, how to access that gut feeling. Just for, should I buy this car or this car? Will my daughter do better in this school or that school? Right?
Yeah.
Is now the time to quit my job? All of that kind of stuff. Because there is guidance for it.
So, if you were to leave our listeners with one bit of advice to kind of add to their own inner script, what would that be?
I think it would be, go within. We all have intuition. We all have an inner guidance compass. We all have a higher self, that aspect of us which can't fully fit into the human body, right? I our higher self is our spiritual part that's non-physical. A little bit of it comes into the heart space, right into here, and the rest can't even be housed in the physical body. I guess what I would want to say to people is, you have it. You can learn how to access it, both the connection to the higher self, the higher aspect of who you are, and your own intuition. And it's worth It's worth learning a little bit about that. If you feel pulled, we all have it. I don't think that like you're especially gifted or I'm especially gifted. I think we've just gone to school and learned how to open it up. And then it's my profession. It's what I do every day. I always say if I worked out at the gym, like I do my psychic work, I would have the most amazing body. It's a muscle. It's a muscle. We all have it. It's a muscle. And how do you want to use it? And how do you want to grow it? Because if you
Oh,
want to, yeah.
thank you so much. It's so true. I love that. What's the
Thank
best way for people to connect with you?
Yes. So my website is I'm Alissa, Alissa, AlyssaSmithIntuitive.com. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, also with Alissa Smith Intuitive. So that's me.
I'll
If you want.
list Beautiful. I'll list everything in the description for the listeners to connect with you and follow you on all of those social media platforms. And I just want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this interview. It was really fun for me.
My
And I
pleasure.
love you so
Right?
much.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Me
Talk
too.
about all this stuff. Yes.
I love the woo woo. But
Thanks for
thank you
having
for everything. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing all of your expertise and your experiences with us. And this was fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.